Okay, please confirm if you can hear me properly and if you can see my screen. Okay, cool. Yes, so we're doing this, how to assign IP addresses. You have manually and with a server. And if you open a packet tracer and you have a PC, or you bring a laptop, and you go to IP configuration, you can see that you have static. Static, it means you can assign manually yourself. 168.10.10, you see, and you fill up everything manually yourself. Or you can get it automatically via DHCP. DHCP is a server, is a device that will automatically assign IP addresses to IP devices, to routers, interfaces, to laptops, to PCs, and all this stuff. So these are the two ways. And one second. Okay, we continue. This is how we assign. So this one I can put it smaller, and this one we can put it a bit smaller here. Okay, all good, all good, all good. We continue. Do I still have that thing here? No. Let's. I need to copy something for you. Subnet mask. Okay. So we can assign automatically via a DHCP server or manually. What else we can learn? I think that is already a lot for you to learn. And yeah, I can copy this one I was looking for. I'll put it on top here. So we did subnet mask. It was which 14. This one is 14 also. 14. So everything I'm teaching you is exactly what I teach at CPUT, what is taught everywhere in the world, and what we face in a company. So if you select the DHCP, automatically it will assign all this information to you. The IP address, the subnet mask, with the gateway, because all these will configure it in the server. Then it will publish to people. Later on, when we do the labs, we'll also use this. We'll take a server. A server is what? So it's like when you go to a restaurant, the waiter come to you and ask you, what do you want? So here we can configure many things. One sec. The server, yes. If I open IP configuration, not there. This guy, we keep on changing stuff. Okay, anyway, I cannot find what I wanted to show you. Let me see here. It's a server. Okay, we change it. Okay, anyway, when we do some labs, I'll try to show you some stuff. So this chapter we go slowly, and because it's a lot, and it might be confusing if you go in NetACAN. That's why I'm trying to make it very short and simple for you. You know the definition of a IP address? You have an example of IP address. You know the three classes. Let me check the recording is still on. Yes, presenting. Okay. You know the three classes of IP addresses: class A, class B, class C, and how to identify them. The first block, if it falls in this range, it's class A. If it falls in this range, it's class B. If it falls in this range, it's class C. Special IP 127.0.0.0 is called, I think it's a look back, no? Look back address. Let me check. Look back address is to test your network cards to check if all good by your side. If you can ping yourself successfully, it means you're good to communicate with anyone. Your network or your SIM card is working properly. So there is a name for that. I forgot. I'm checking for you. In IT, be curious. You have Google, you have YouTube. In our time, we had nothing. You had to buy books only. But nowadays, you have all these tools to make some research. It's very important. If I say hello, now I type IP address. Yeah, I know why he was doing one look back address. Yes, I think 0. No, not this one. Yeah. Okay. A look back address. All these things they can ask you for job interviews. Look back address. So it's to test your network interface card to check if your network card is okay or if your cell phone SIM card is okay. Is to test yourself. If it's successful, then it means you can communicate with other people. You know the difference between a public address and a private address? And you know the range. For a class A, this is the range. If a IP is between this range, starting with 10 dot something, it's a class A. We cannot assign to a host to go to the internet. No, it won't work. For a class B, for a class C also. Then we know the definition and the role of a subnet mask. The subnet mask is used to determine the network in which the device belongs to. And we have some examples, and we also check the default subnet mask per class. with default subnet mask per class. It's very important to know. So for a class A, it's /8 or 8 ones. The network, the first block is for the network, it never change. So /8, it means we have 8 ones. For a class B, the first 2 blocks are for the network, never change. We all put ones. If you change, so it's /16, it means 16 ones. If you convert in decimal, it's 255, 255, 255. And for a class C, the first 3 blocks will identify the network, and anything else I can assign to the host. You see? So if I put all ones, it's 24 ones or /24. If you convert all of them in decimal, it's 255.255.255. So anytime you have an IP, it's compulsory to have a subnet mask. The subnet mask will identify this IP belongs to which network. That's why in Packet Tracer, if you open here this guy, always you have the IP, the subnet mask, then also the default gateway if that device needs to communicate with the outside. A DNS server, it's also a server that will change the IP address to a name or a name to an IP address. For example, if you type cisco.com, you see, the DNS server will see that, okay, this user wants to communicate with cisco.com. Let me change cisco.com to the correct IP address of cisco.com. So a DNS server, because we cannot memorize IP addresses, but we can memorize cisco.com. So if you open a web page and you type cisco.com, the DNS server will say, I know cisco.com, this is the IP, then I can contact that IP or that server. We continue. So you also know how to assign IP addresses. You can assign manually or automatically via a DNS server. What else we can learn? So if you assign manually or statically, you must assign everything. You must have the IP address, you must have the subnet mask, you must have the default gateway and other info. But if it's the DHCP, it will automatically publish to everyone all this info once off. Okay, what else I can show you? So we'll study IPv6 a bit later. You know the class A, class B. I think you know the private IP, we know the subnet mask. So if you have a PC, you can assign manually down here. Yourself, you enter all this info, or you can tick on top, obtain IP address automatically. When we'll do the labs, I'll show you more. Now there is something called subnetting. This one, I think I prefer doing it. I prefer doing it on Monday, but I'll try to give you an example for now. I'll try to give you an example for now, so that next time when you go, when we start, it will be a bit easier for you. So I'll put it here. So after how to configure IP address, we now have subnetting. 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 Subnetting is something very simple. It's like you have, let's say, insert table 1. You have only one room, right? Or only one network. And we say, oh, it's too big for me. I cannot pay, let's say, 4,000 rent alone in that room. Let me divide it in 2 rooms or 4 rooms. So you say, for example, I'm going to divide it in 4 rooms. You see, now you have 4 rooms. And you need to put some people here. James will be here. Sangani will be here. Sangani will be here. Mr. Wan will be here. And Christina will be here. And Denise will be here. You see, subnetting. If you are renting or if you're letting, we say subletting. You rent a place, a flat, and you share it with other people. You see. So this is what we call subnetting. Normally, you have an IP or a room. Now you want to divide it in smaller ones. You see. It's what we call subnetting. So now, if you do that, you must identify the needs belong to room 1. Mr. One belong to room 2. Sangani belong to, Christina belongs to. So we need now to give more info. So I'm going to show you an example. I'll go through it, and on Monday, we will continue. I'm going to make it simple for you. So now if you have a small room where Denise is, you have other info you need. The first host, the last host, and the broadcast. So each smaller room you divided will have some properties. So each smaller network will have a first valid host, a last valid host, and a broadcast. Each smaller network. So I'm going to take an example here so that we can go through it. Then on I did also this one here. Okay. In smaller rooms, you see. So each smaller room will have each of these things. Okay, let me take this one. Okay, I'll take this one. What is this? Nope. Router, we're almost there. Okay, we are almost here. Subnetting, you see, now we put it here. So this is an example. So this example means what? Max is the owner of this big room. And Mr. Max is renting his bedroom in smaller rooms. Denise will be here, one is here. And I go to Washington to travel. And I say, okay, I call someone called David. David, please, I'm going overseas. Please manage my property. David doesn't know you guys. And one day, Denise comes, or Sangani comes, and he wants to enter in the rooms. David will say, who are you? I don't know you. Where do you belong to? In which room? How David will know where Sangani should go, where Christina will go, where Mr. One will go? It's exactly what we're going to do. You have an IP address here. And the question is, in which bedroom you belong to, or in which network you belong to. You see, this is an IP address with always the subnet mask. An IP address will never come alone. Will always come with a subnet mask. This is it. And we'll ask you in which network you belong to. So, and when you find a network, we always need first valid host, last valid host, and the broadcast. Broadcast. If you want to send a message to everyone in that small room. So let's start. So always, if you have an IP like that, and we ask you in which network it belongs to, you have a guidance. So today, what I'm showing you is just an example, and on Monday, we're going to go more. First thing first, identify the class. This IP is which class? You can see that it starts with 192. So it's a class C. Step number 2. Let me put the numbers. Yeah. So step number 1, you identify the class. Step number 2, why this one is small like that? Let me put 2. Okay, anyway. Step number 2, identify the default subnet mask of that class. So we know that for class C, the default subnet mask is /24. It means we have 24 ones. Now here in our question, this one is class C, but now here is 25. It means my default was 24. Now I moved to 25. Something has changed. You see, it means I was 25, I was 24 here. Now, one extra bit has been borrowed from the host portion. So find the bit borrowed. You do the 25/25 minus /24. It means I borrowed one extra bit from the host. Step number 4, if you borrow something from the host, it means now we need to identify how many networks I will get. So to get the number of networks, you do 2 to the power of bit borrowed. So here, 2 to the power of 1, because I did borrow 1. So if you take your calculator, you go to scientific. 2 to the power of how many borrowed? I borrowed 1 bit to the power of 1 equal 2. It means now I have 2 smaller networks. 2, oh, sorry. It means I have 2 smaller networks. So previously, if I have a default subnet mask, it's only one network. Now that I borrowed, I have now two smaller networks. I had my big room before. Now I'm going to have two bedrooms. There's two smaller networks. I need to identify them. It means I have now two smaller networks. How to identify them? You take again your question, 192.168.10.12, because it's a class C, the first three blocks will never change. You keep it here, it never change. And the first network, you always start with 0. How to find the second one? The first three block doesn't change. Now, how to find the second network? We go to something called the magic number. Let me put in other color. The magic number. How to find the magic number? To find it, it's simple. You do your table, 128, 64, 32, 16, everything, you see. And because I did borrowed 1 bit, everything here I put in my table here. And you take the last one. So the last one is here. So it means my magic number will be 128. And I put it here. If it was 1 like that, I always take the last one from left to right. I take this one. Then my magic number should be 64. But we'll do a lot of examples. So this is how to find my two smaller networks. We'll do that again on Monday. Then when you have these two smaller networks inside, I need to find, this is the first smaller network, and this is the second smaller network. In each smaller network, I need to find the first valid host I can assign to a PC, the last valid host, and the broadcast. To find the broadcast IP, I take the second network minus 1. You see, 128 minus 1 is 127. This is the IP address of the broadcast. To find the last valid host, I do the broadcast minus 1. It will be 126. To find the first valid host, I do my network 10.0 plus 1. It will be 10.1. So this is how per smaller network, each info I get per smaller network. You can also do for this network. Now you go back to your question. This is a IP, 192.168.10.12. You can see that .12 is between, it's somewhere here, between 1 and 126. It means that that IP belongs to this network. It means Sangani belongs to room number 2, for example, or room number 3. So this is something we'll do on Monday, subnetting. If you have a network and you want to cut it in smaller networks, how we do. So now we go back to our question. And this IP belongs to this. Now you can say this one. This IP /25 or 192.168.10.12 /25 is 255.255.255.128. Remember, with 255s, if I have 25 ones, this is my 25 ones. The first one, if I convert in decimal, is 255, 255, 255, and 128, like what we did before. So this one, we're going to do it on Monday. Any questions? So let's stop for here today. Any questions? If no questions, I'm going to post it in the YouTube. Please take your time to watch it many times. And on Monday, we'll do a revisions and we'll do a bit of subnetting again. We'll take 2 or 3 more examples. Thank you very much for attending. Have a good weekend. And anytime you have issues, please contact me or post it in the group and we'll help each other. Thank you very much, guys, and have a good weekend.